Here you see the populating process of the second and third row, as you saw in the previous slide, the introduction on that. But here I'm going to show this process with Excel to you. But here first, let's go and do a general review. Okay, here, let me also make it a cursor one. Okay. Okay. Now here it is about the inter-arrival time of scarf 1, and I want to make sure you see the arrow here. I'm talking about here. Okay, you see the inter-arrival time. Inter-arrival time, as we checked it last week, and you can go and check the details of the problem, the case we are simulating, and it was uniform distribution between 0 and 5. So when you want to generate such a random number, you need to use this formula. If you remember, it was the lower bound. The lower bound here is 0, so it has no effect on the formula, plus the length of the range, that is 5 minus 0, that and all these things times the rand function, as you can see. So here we have it. So the number that you see here is exactly the same. The number that you see here is exactly the same. They are generated with the same formula. Or here, for example, inter-arrival time. The reason they are different, because you know that Excel refresh itself continuously unless you freeze it. And since it is not a real case and it is just for learning purposes, don't bother yourself at this point with freezing the thing, because now at this stage that we are in week 12, our focus is learning how to model a simulation case. Okay, so inter-arrival time is simulated like that. Another things that we have is arrival time. Okay, my friends, if inter-arrival time for the first scarf is 1.83, what would be the arrival time? Okay, the arrival time, if you remember, according to the formula we did today, and you can go and check all of them, it is 0 plus inter arrival time for 1. So we have 0, so arrival time here would be 1.83. So that's the reason inter-arrival time, when here is 4.24, the arrival time is exactly the same thing, 4.24. Or here, because the inter-arrival time for the first scarf is 1.46, the arrival time is 1.46. When it is 0.43, it is again here 0.43. And I'm going to show you these things with the Excel file, but it is necessary first we review all these things together here. Another number that we need to talk about is this number, because now you know about this, you know about this, you know about this one. Okay, here it is about the arrival time. Okay, what is the arrival time? Arrival time is the arrival time of 2. Arrival time of 2 is equal to arrival time of 1 plus inter-arrival of 2. So here we have the arrival time of 1, it is 4.24. Okay, that plus the inter-arrival of 2, that is 3.62. What would be the result? Okay, here we have 7 on the left side, and on the other side, my handwriting is terrible. 7, and here we have 8, 6. As you can see, it is the number here. Exactly the same thing happens here. It is the arrival time of the second scarf that is equal to arrival time of scarf 1 plus inter-arrival of scarf 2. If I want to show you the numbers exactly, they are this one. So it would be 2.90 plus 1.46. So we have 36 on this side and we have 4 on this side, and you see it is calculated here. Another thing that we have is the service time, my friend. The service time for a scarf 1, for a scarf 2, for any scarf is a normal number, and as you remember, it was a normal number with mean of 2 minutes and standard deviation of 0.5. So when we want to create these random numbers, it would be such a thing: norm dot inverse, open parentheses, rand, and after that you put all these things, and we have talked about all these things. So this number, this number, this number, this number are created in that way that I just described to you. And finally, when you want to do the completion time is the part that we need to think about it. It is not that much straightforward, but still super easy. Okay, what is the completion time? Is it inter-arrival time, my friend? No. Is it arrival time? For sure it is not. Is it service start time? Is it service time? So that's the reason we need to think about it. Completion time is some sort of mixing the things together. So here, the service start time. What is the service start time for the first customer? The service start time, according to the formulas you wrote, is exactly equal to the arrival time. Go and check the formulas you wrote with the previous activities. What is service start time for the scarf 1, for customer 1? The service start time for customer 1 is the arrival time, because the waiting time for the first customer is always 0. The waiting time for the first customer is 0, but for the other ones, we need to calculate it. But for the first one, as we discussed it, it is 0. So here, the service start time for the first customer, since no other customer is in the bank, is equal to the arrival time. So as you can see, it is arrival time for the first scarf is arrival time is 0.43, and the service start time, I just try to make sure you can see the arrow when I refer to them. Okay, now it's fine. Now you can see the arrow. Okay, so you see the service start time is the same as arrival time, because it is the first scarf, and the first scarf when it comes, as soon as it comes, the service starts with that. When service starts, you have the service time that is 0, a service start time that is 0.43, and also you have the service time. And according to the formula you made before, summation of these two things gives you completion time. So it would be where is it? Where is it? Okay, it would be service start time. It would be service start time that is 0.43 plus the service time, that is 1.93. And the result here would be 236, if I'm right. 9431. Yes. And see, the reason you see it is 2, it is just because of rounding the numbers. That is not correct. Okay. So when you are doing your file, as also you will see soon with the Excel file that I'm going to show you, don't do any rounding. It is just a mistake here, but the number is 2.36 and it is rounded because it is smaller than 5. So 50%, so it is rounded to down. So that's the reason. But the part that I told you it is not as straightforward as the previous one is here. When you want to calculate the service start time of the second scarf, a little bit tricky. What is that? See, the service start time of the first scarf, okay, it is arrival time. Straightforward, easy to understand. But the service start time of the second one is connected to the finish, the completion time of the previous scarf. Yes? Makes sense. But I have a question from you. What if when the second scarf enters the system, when the second customer enters the system, there is no other customer or scarf over there? So you see, that's the point. When it is the first scarf, when it is the first customer, it's easy. There is no other one, we are sure. So the service start time equals to arrival time. But when it is the second one, it is the third one, it is the fourth one, always there is a chance of the previous one are still in the system. And also there is a chance of no one in the system. So we need to consider that. What is that consideration? It says, we should say it in this way. If there is a customer in the system, when the second customer enters, the customer must wait until the other customer is done. So it is the time that the completion time is used. F, to calculate the service start time. Because, for example, if it is the second customer, the finish time of the first customer is the service start time, because when customer 1 is done, the service of the second customer starts. So it is F1. And if there is no one in the system, just the service start time is the arrival time of the second one. And we should go for the maximum one, because if F1, finish time of customer 1, is greater than arrival time of 2, it means that it means that customer 2 needs to wait until customer 1 is done. But if arrival time of the second customer is greater than completion time of customer 1, it means that when the second customer enters the system, there is no one in the system and they can start the service to them immediately. That's the reason, my friends, that you see here the formula for a service start time of the second customer, as you can see here, is maximum of G3 and D4. What is G3? G3 is completion time of the scarf 1, and D4 is the arrival time of scarf 2. Whichever is bigger, it should be considered as the service start time of the second one. If you feel confused, please stop the video and review this explanation again.